And a very good day, everyone. It is Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. This is the Rick Richards Show, and I am, of course, your host, Rick Richards. And you may be saying, where you been, Rick Richards? It's been a while. It's been a long time. And yes, it has. It has been a long time since the last video, probably about 2 months. I decided to take a break for the summer. As some of you may know, the algorithm police were kind of crushing down on the channel so long as I was talking about the pandemic. And, and I mean, I never even really denied that there was a pandemic. All a pandemic means is that an epidemic has crossed borders or boundaries. That's a pandemic, right? It's affecting multiple places. But I will say that I went on record as saying that the reaction was way overblown. It was way overblown. It was the wrong approach. And I said the consequences were going to be felt for years, decades, probably. And hey, here we are, right? Here we are. Maybe it won't be as bad as I'm saying, but I think it probably will be. But anyway, so I mean, there wasn't a whole lot more to say about it. And like I say, the channel, the views went and they went right into the toilet, right? And the videos were getting pulled down by YouTube and stuff like that. So I went over to BitChute, and BitChute isn't quite, it's not quite there yet. But anyways, whatever. I thought I'd come on. I thought I would provide an overview and an update of the full situation for people that are maybe, into things, into their own life and trying to get by and all this stuff to not really examine the big picture and to look back at some of the predictions that I was making a few months ago and see where we're at. So that's what we're going to do. I hope everybody's enjoying their summer. Certain things they can't take away from you, right? I mean, you can still enjoy a sunny day to a degree, although, you know what, even that's getting harder. I'm going to tell you what happened to me. So yesterday, I was pretty stressed out. So I decided to cut out of work early, right? So I drove up to a mountain. It's called the Stamatis Chief, right? This is up by Squamish, BC. Squamish is a very beautiful area. It's sort of on the way to Whistler, BC, right? British Columbia. And there's a place called the Chief. It's known as the Chief, the Stamatis Chief, and it's got a trail that goes right up sort of the backside of a cliff, and then you get to the top and you can see everything. It's a beautiful view, and it's a real sheer cliff. And I used to go up there a lot when I was a kid and, a young adult. And I'm still a pretty healthy guy. So me and my son, Ivan, went up there, and we were going to go for a hike. But I got there, and there's a barricade. And the barricade says you're not allowed to go on unless you have a pass. Like, a pass? What kind of fucking pass do you need now for this place? I mean, I've been up there many, many times, and you just walk up. Nope, not anymore. I mean, last time I actually was there, I don't know, about maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and no pass then. But now you need a pass. So there was, of course, somebody preventing anybody from coming up. And I said, okay, where do I get the pass? And he sent me the website. And I had my phone, of course, as I always do. And I went on to the website, Discover Camping, it's called, to sign up for a pass. And I go, I don't see the option on here. Showed it to him, and he goes, oh, yeah, I guess there's no more passes left available. So that was it, man. 1.5-hour drive wasted. It wasn't busy. It wasn't crowded. But no, couldn't get on. Couldn't go up, right? So I eventually had to drive back to another place and download another pass and log in and create an account. There's another fucking account, right? Everybody needs an account now for everything, right? And it's all to keep us safe, right? Because so many people get sick walking along trails. It's really dangerous, don't you know? If you were going to get a flu or a cold or any kind of airborne illness, it'll come from walking on trails, God damn it. The odd occasion where you see a person and you happen to pass by them, that's when you're going to get sick, right? So it's all for our safety. And shame on you people that are going along with all of this. Stop hiding under your fucking beds, okay? put on your big girl pants or your big boy pants or whatever it is. You're not going to get killed. All right. This virus is not going to debilitate everybody. You're not going to get sick walking on a trail. If you're going to get sick, it's going to be going into nightclubs, breathing shitty air, riding on a bus with a bunch of sick people, all the obvious places where you would think that you would be more at risk of an airborne virus, right? That's it. Okay. So I don't know. So after this is kind of what inspired me to do another video. I thought, you know what? We're still dealing with all this bullshit, right? We're still dealing with all this bullshit. And you know, it occurred to me that nothing is really getting better. Nothing in our world is getting better, is it? I mean, I'm sure if we stopped and we thought about it, we could say, okay, well, I guess texting is better, right? I mean, I remember being a kid and I'd, you know, let's say I'd go over to a friend's house to hang out with them or whatever, and you knock on the door, nobody's there, right? Well, if they're not there, hey, that's it. You miss them. You're not going to see them, right? Nowadays, that really doesn't happen because you can text people. People don't get lost, you know, people don't get lost. So, okay, there's a few things that technology has improved, of course, but just so many other things are shitty, right? Like kids can't go out and play because they're going to get molested, right? And even if they did want to go out and play, now there's no other kids left going out to play. You can't even walk up on a park, right? There's just everything you want to do is just being encroached on. Anything that involves any kind of freedom or an ability just to go do something on your own. Like, I mean, and you can just see that it's a trend that's just going to keep continuing and continuing. Things like driving a car are going to get harder and more. It's going to be a more laborious licensing process to be able to do that. Then you're going to need a pass if you want to go somewhere. These are just really, I hate to be a downer, you know, I hate to be a downer, man, but I mean, you know, we just, every year we lose more and more options and people just put up with it, which is the saddest thing of all. People put up with it. And, you know, prior to this, I had two other experiences. One was the BC Day long weekend, which I think was like August 3rd. And, you know, I went out, I wanted to go hiking on the trail at Bunsen Lake. Bunsen Lake is another nice lake and a nice trail. It's sort of kind of on the north end of the Lower Mainland up by Port Moody, I guess it is. It's a nice lake. It's got trails that go around the lake. And I used to go there all the time, head out for the day during the summer, right? Go out on the lake, whatever, you know, have a good time. So I went BC Day long weekend. Nope, couldn't go. Turning people away because it was full, right? Tried again the following weekend on just a regular Sunday. Nope, couldn't go. It's full. And I thought, fuck, man, this really, really, really sucks, right? You can't travel anywhere because there's restrictions. And good luck trying to book a hotel. Maybe you can do it. You can't do anything at home because everything's either closed or every single person goes there and does it, right? And keep this in mind. Keep this in mind that our country, the Liberal Party, and maybe the Conservatives are on board with it too. I honestly don't know. But I know Trudeau's on board with this, and I know the Liberal Party is on board with this. They want 100 million people living in Canada by the end of the century. 100 million people. That is more than 2.5 times the current population, okay? So let that sink in for a second. Answer me this. And you know what? People will say the most stupid things. They'll say, well, Canada's a big country. Yeah, none of those people is coming to live up in the Yukon, okay? Nobody's going up to Yellowknife, right? They're all going to Toronto and Greater Vancouver and then a few other places, Edmonton, Calgary, probably, and Ottawa and Montreal, and that's it, right? So another 60 million some odd people will be coming to those places. Now ask yourself this. When you go out, when you want to go to a park or a hiking trail or whatever it is, do you sit there and do you think to yourself, damn it, there's not enough people? You know what we need? We need triple the amount of people everywhere I go. That would really make things good, right? No, because the people that want it are the people that are making money off it, right? These politicians, they work for moneyed interests. They work for banks, they work for multinational corporations, and they see they see human beings as biomass, right? And this doesn't even matter if you're pro-immigration or anti-immigration, or you're a flaming racist, or you're fucking open the borders, bleeding heart, whatever you are, right? You need to understand that all of these moneyed interests, they see you as cattle, right? Let's bring in some more cattle. Why do we want more cattle in here? Well, because we can get them credit cards, we can open them bank accounts, they can buy stuff off Amazon, they can walk through the till at Walmart, all of these little things spread out, right? Some of them will get jobs, some of them will be on benefits, who knows, right? But it just keeps inflating the overall economy, but doesn't actually improve anybody's lifestyle, right? It'll drive wages down and it'll drive real estate prices up. But nobody gives a shit. Banks don't give a shit if real estate prices go up. Hey, more people need loans then, right? More people need loans. So these are things that you should keep in mind, because this is what's coming. And you know what? Maybe you're old. Maybe you're, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 years old. And you know what? You won't live to see any of that. But for God's sakes, man, think about the next generation. Like, what kind of shitty world are we leaving behind for them if they're going to have to put up with this stuff, right? Anyways, that's my rant for now. Let's move on to some of the things that yours truly called very, very early on in this process, right? I called this right away. And yes, so, all right. So we've seen, you know what? Let's see where we're at, actually. Let's go right here. Okay, so this is a running list of 2020 retail bankruptcies. And this is primarily for the US, but we'll look at some specifics in Canada as well. So, and this was as of, how long ago was this? August. Okay, it's fairly recent. So 26 major, these are major retail bankruptcies. 26 major bankruptcies. That's a lot, okay? Steinmart, Tailored Brands, Lord & Taylor, Essenza, The Paper Store, RTW Retail Wins. A lot of these you won't know them just by their name, but you'll know them when you see what they are and what they do and all that sort of thing, right? Brooks Brothers made great suits. Brooks Brothers, Lucky Brand, GNC. Now this is one I'm intimately familiar with. They've declared bankruptcy. Pier 1, Blue Systems, Art Van Furniture, True Religion. Well, let's face it, their jeans had seen better days anyways. JCPenney, Centric Brands, Aldo. So, I mean, basically what we're seeing, and again, as I predicted, we are seeing a tsunami of bankruptcies moving through the retail sector. And yes, it is going to hit the retail sector first, right? Men's Warehouse, see, here's Tailored Brands. That's the Men's Warehouse. Lord & Taylor, more retail. And you'll notice that most of these places are ones that they're in an area where they were less likely to compete with either a big box or an online offering. And the COVID lockdown essentially, and the people's reaction. I mean, it's not just the government, right? But it's been pretty devastating for them. And, you know, I mean, what does that mean, right? Well, first of all, if you take all those 26 major retailers, I have no clue how many people worked for them, but, you know, it's safe to assume it's thousands, right? That would be thousands and thousands of people. Maybe hundreds of thousands, actually. Now, those thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, they're not getting hired tomorrow by Amazon, right? Amazon doesn't need hundreds of thousands of people. Walmart already has employees that they offer a very low wage to. That's not changing. So, and remember, within each business, you have essentially a pyramid within each business, right? You have entry-level workers, you have management typically, and you have ownership. And it's kind of a structure like that. Maybe management or ownership, depends on how the size of the company and the structure of it. But generally you have these sort of things, right? And you know, if you're entry level in a smaller or medium sized business, you can move up fairly easily, or it's very doable, to management and potentially ownership as well, or start your own business once you've acquired that kind of experience, right? And that kind of expertise. But you see, the problem is when that company, when that disappears, those managers, most of them won't end up just at a place like Amazon. The owners certainly won't. And the entry-level employees, most of them won't. A couple of them will, and that's about it, right? And you, what you have with the larger a company is, the more of a bottom-heavy base there is. So you get way more low-paid or low-skilled or entry-level workers, and a much tighter wage structure, right? So then you get your managers, and the ownership is, you know, often one person or a board or public, right? And so you're essentially, when all these small and medium businesses, and in some cases large ones, go kaput, you're losing the upper management and the ownership class as well. And you may say, well, fuck them, who cares, right? Well, no, not really. Because I mean, those are the people that are paying property taxes, keeping other people employed, using professional services like accounting firms, law firms, you know, all that stuff. Like there's just a whole chain of things, right, that go on, you know, using contractors, all that stuff, right? There's like a whole, anybody that's in the middle class and the upper middle class, they create a lot of sort of one-to-one working relationships, right? So you lose all those. And once they're gone, they don't come back, right? That's the thing. So let's look at some of the other things that have had a major impact. A scary number of retail companies are facing bankruptcy amid the coronavirus pandemic. So that's facing. So that doesn't include the ones that have already gone bankrupt. But I mean, one of them is Chuck E. Cheese, right? You may remember Chuck E. Cheese. It was a fun place for kids, right? You got that big mouse walking around. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, I understand, but I took one of my kids there for her birthday and everybody had a good time, but now they're gone. And, you know, I mean, this kind of just illustrates more of the same, right? But now here's the thing. So it's not stopping at retail, right? And like, I mean, retail, and something that's kind of been missed is restaurants. Like I think the independently owned restaurants are disproportionately getting hit hard by this. A lot of franchisees will. Pizza Hut, a major franchise owner of Pizza Hut with, I think it's 300 stores in the US, he's shutting down. What else is shutting down? What else is going under? Hudson Bay. So Hudson Bay, okay, so if you're not familiar with Canada, Hudson Bay is actually, I think you might be able to say Hudson Bay is, it might be the oldest retail company in the world. Might be the oldest in the world. I could be wrong on that, but if it's not the oldest retailer in the world, it's damn close. It's been around for 400 years. They are starting to close flagship stores. Oh, 1670, there you go. Incorporated May 2nd, 1670. So to put this in perspective, this store has survived the Great Depression, survived the Great Recession 10 years ago. It has survived World War II. It has survived World War I. It has survived the War of 1812. It was in existence nearly 200 years before Canada even became a country officially. Okay. That's a long time. It was around 100 years before the French Revolution, more than 100 years, more than 100 years before the US Revolution. That's how long that this store has been around, right? But it's not going to survive much longer now, right? So they're closing their iconic Edmonton store. They're closing out their downtown Winnipeg store. So, I mean, they're facing a future where probably they're going to have 3 stores in Canada, one in downtown Toronto, I'm sure, and then, you know, maybe a few others and a few others in the U.S. But I mean, they're clearly struggling now, and you know, they're on the chopping block as to how much longer they can last, right? And finally, let's leave on this. Hey, look at this. Amazon posts record-shattering profits thanks to the pandemic. Thank you, pandemic. You worked out well for Amazon. Worked out very, very well indeed for Amazon, right? Despite the coronavirus pandemic ravaging the world, despite it, I would say because of it, Amazon is making more money than ever. Amazon reported its profit doubled. Doubled. Now, this is not a marginal company that's just getting by. They were making a shit ton of money last year, and now their profit has doubled to a staggering $5.2 billion. That's in 3 months. $5.2 billion in 3 months, okay? Net sales increased 40% to nearly $90 billion. Wow. Pretty good for Amazon, huh? Pretty good for Amazon. This was another highly unusual quarter. I couldn't be more proud of and grateful to our employees around the globe, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos said in a statement. Yeah, sure. During the second quarter of 2020, Amazon increased its grocery delivery capacity by over 160% and tripled its grocery pickup locations. Customers responded with online grocery sales tripling in the second quarter compared to the same time in 2019. Well, there you go. They kept themselves open. I guess they are essential. And hey, man, not good. When they post $5 billion, when they post $90 billion in sales, that $90 billion could have been spread out to, I don't know, 1,000 businesses or more, right? All across North America, you know, or wherever. Amazon is Europe as well, I guess. But I mean, that's what that means, right? Those are all businesses that are now making zero or making not enough to continue. But Amazon is going to do just fine, right? And the big chief over at Amazon, Jeff Bezos, I'm sure he'll be very kind to everybody else. He'll look after all of us, right? So these are things we have to think about. You know, these are things we have to think about because they're coming, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Here's what you have to remember too. Let's finish on this note. I hate to be so black-pilling and such a downer, but hey, you guys want a dose of reality, right? You want a dose of reality. So retail is at the brunt. Retail and restaurants are at the brunt. The travel industry as well is going to be feeling a great wipeout. Probably a lot of them were hanging on for the summer just to see what they could recoup, and we'll see them going down, a lot of them in the next 3 months. Probably a lot of them will be suspending operations. So that will kind of complete stage 1 of the great bankruptcy tsunami. So what will stage 2 be? Well, I will be coming back for stage 2. Stage 2, I think we can expect all those industries that were heavily reliant on retail and restaurants. I think we'll start to see them capsize. Like, for example, let's say going into this pandemic, let's say, and I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, okay? This is just to illustrate something. Let's say across 50 states and 10 provinces in North America, let's say there were 100,000 restaurants. Those 100,000 restaurants would have been serviced by, call it 10,000 restaurant supply companies, right? 10,000 meat and poultry company, the whole thing, right? So if we go from 100,000 restaurants and down to, I don't know, 50,000 that are just chains, well, those 10,000 suppliers, poof, they disappear, right? They drop off into, a handful of suppliers, national, multinational suppliers. Again, the ones that have the scale. Their service may not be as good, right? But they're the only game in town, and they can weather the storm because they're spread out and they have the scale of the operation, right? So you're going to see that. That's what will come next. You'll see all these kind of feeder industries or industries that were heavily reliant on retail. You'll see them start to capsize as well. Not all of them, obviously. What happens in these situations is, let's say, picture an iceberg, right? And 90% of the iceberg is above water. The 10% that's below, that's the stuff that's struggling. So when something comes along, we lose that 10%, right? Something devastating, because they're barely making it by in good times. And when something nasty comes along, poof, they fade, right? So what we're seeing now is that 10% has been shaved off, and now the iceberg sinks lower into the water, right? So some of it is still above, of course, right? That'll continue to go on as usual. But parts of it are just going to fade away. And now we're going to see that other part that's been submerged. Pretty soon that's going to break off and disappear as well. So we'll take deeper looks into that stuff coming up. And just remember this, anytime you think that maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist or something along those lines, ask yourself this. Whenever something unusual or calamitous or unexpected happens, ask yourself this. Are there people that will seek to make the most of that situation and to take advantage of it? Yes, we know that. We know that. We all, to some degree, will do that, right? I mean, if stores are closed, some people will take advantage and exercise more, right? It's not always negative that people will take advantage of a situation, but people adjust to things. And you have to remember the moneyed interests that I'm telling you about and the politicians, their very nature is controlling and power hungry, right? People never say, hey, I got $1 billion. I'm good. I'm out, man. Anybody that has made $1 billion wants 2 billion. I guarantee you that. All they can think about is taking 1 billion and growing it to 2 billion. That's their nature. They're sociopaths, most of them. They're sociopaths and narcissistic, and they feel like they're entitled to it and they want it. And whatever method of control or enriching themselves they can do, they will do it. And this doesn't mean it's not a real pandemic. It doesn't mean it's not a real virus. But just remember, when these things come about, there are a lot of people that are going to try to take advantage of this and bend things to favor them. And we're seeing that with Amazon, right? And the government wants companies like Amazon to do well because it creates more easier opportunities for them. It's a lot harder for them to enrich themselves when, $1 billion is flowing through 100,000 companies, right? It's much easier if $1 billion is flowing through just one company, right? Because that's one phone call for them, So there you go. That's what's happening. That's what we're faced with now. Yeah, I wish I could say things are going to get better, but I don't see it. I really don't. Maybe some things will. We'll see. But yeah, I'll come back with another video, maybe in a couple of weeks or so, and we'll just take a deeper dive into what's going on next, because I do have a feeling we're about to enter a new stage of all of this. We're kind of at the end of the opening stage, and 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but now we're 6 months in, right? Curve, is it flat? I don't even know. Who knows, right? All we hear is, well, cases are on the rise. Okay. Anyways, so let's leave it there. Until then, I'm not going to say stay safe, because don't worry about staying safe. Stay free, people. Stay free.